Welcome to the GridML training videos. In this video, I'm going to show you step by step how to use GridML to view and search open API schemas. So let's jump right in. I'm going to bring up my browser screen and I'm going to type in gridml.com into the search bar. It brings up GridML. I'm going to click the user sign in. It's not going to ask me again for my login and password because I've already logged in earlier today. There's no active schemas currently in GridML, so I have to click either setup or the setup schemas button at the bottom. Click either button. It brings up a list in my default repository. In an earlier lesson, we had downloaded a sample open API schema from the mortgage insurance work group. It's called the MI estimated rate quote. The prompt says to select the root elements you want to use for viewing and searching. So the one that I want is the MI estimated rate quote response. I'm going to select that one. You can select any of these, by the way, though you want to pick the one that's useful as a root element. The one that I want to use is that one. So let's show you a little bit about view. Click on the view button. It brings the open API schema into the browser. And notice it shows the root element that we had selected in the left-hand column, and to the right of that is the properties of that element, or the containers or data elements that are contained in it, whatever it is. We have things like reference identifiers, the created date time, document loan. If we click on one of these, for example, created date time, it brings up that properties of that element, which include the definition from the MISMO standards and also the data type, which is MISMO date time. If we click on loan, it shows the elements that are under the properties of loan, which include things like base loan amount. If I click on that, it shows its definition. It's MISMO type, which is MISMO amount. Borrower account shows its definition, and so on. So that's a little bit about viewing. And notice as I pick on each one down here, there's a line here that is showing the data path of that element in the JSON path format. So in other words, my path here, if you look at the blue highlighted up items up here, it's MI rate, estimated rate quote response, loan identifiers, and that's exactly what's shown down here in the path line. Each one is separated by a period in the JSON path format, and we'll show you in a little bit of why that's useful. Let's go into search. If I type in, there's a search button, just like you use on any program. I can start typing in a name, type in MI, and notice as I type in each letter, it is searching. I can type in company, and notice even though I've only typed in part of a word here, it's found two matches for this. So let's take a look at that. It's found MI company name type and name type other description. In the next column, it's showing that those appear in one location that's within this for the MI company name type. Since that's the one I highlighted here, it's showing it's in one location. I'll show you a little bit about these symbols here. In the MI estimated rate quote, it's in one location within this structure, but the diamond symbols means that it's how many levels down from here within the structure does that item appear. So it's saying that it's 2 levels down. Here's one of the levels, MI rate quote response, and here it's showing it's 1 level below this. If I click on that, there's the match. In the right, to the right of that, it shows its name. If I click on that name, it shows its properties, and this is an enumerated element. It's a type, MISMO type element, so it shows its enumerated values, which are these here. That's a little bit about search. There's one other thing I want to show you. Let's start fresh here, and let's say that I know that I'm looking for a term that's called that's a legal definition within the for the rate quote response, or legal terms for it. I don't remember what the name is, but I know it's something to do with legal. So I can type that in, and notice it just found one thing that says legal description. That E means it's a enumerated type, but I'm looking for a data point element itself. Let's click on this button that says include definitions in search, and notice immediately found 7 results for items that it found that where the name legal is also included in the definition. And notice here there's 7 different search results. 2 of them are in containers. 1 is a data point, 1's an enumerated value, and 3 of them are type values. I'm looking for a data point, so let's uncheck some of these to clear some of the clutter. Now it shows that there's 1 data point. MI rate quote disclaimer text. Let's click on that. The definition says freeform field used to describe legal terms on which the rate quote is valid. That's the one I'm looking for. So I wanted to point out that this button here, if you're looking for something and you can't find it directly under the name, try clicking this button, and it will search for definitions for every item in the area that you're searching to see if that term that you've entered in the search bar up here is included in there. So that's a little bit about searching. That's basically the main things there are to show for this. What I want to do for those of you who are interested in extra credit, I'm going to show how you would typically use GridML in an actual business scenario. Business analysts or somebody who's writing a implementation guide may want to use a table to show mapping definitions or to show relations between 2 different types of data. That's typically done in a table format. In this case, I've set up a sample data mapping worksheet between the rate quote API data and the MISMO 3.50 standard. I have 4 columns here on the left for the Open API data. I'm including the JSON path, the data element name, the definition, and enumerated values, if any. In this area here, I have 3 columns for MISMO, XPath, data element, data definition. So let's jump in and show you how you would use that. I want to go, right now I just have the rate quote API, but let's bring up a MISMO schema. Go back to my setup screen, and it's going to load up the repositories I have available. I have a repository that I set up earlier called MISMO 3x schemas, and here I have things like ILAD, MISMO 3.5, MISMO 3.6, the interim build for the next version, and the ULDD extension. The one I'm interested in for this mapping exercise is deal. If I was mapping to several, I could click as many of these that I want. I'm interested in deal element data. So let's go back up to search. It's going to load both schemas now into the browsers for faster searching. So let's go to one we typed in earlier, MI company name type. I picked that earlier. So notice now it found 2 results under MI rate quote response, the Open API schema. It also found 2 results in the MISMO schema here. So let's just show you real quickly. If I click on in the deal element, it shows me its location under here. It found 15 locations in the MISMO schema, 15 under deal, 2 under the loans element, and 13 under services. If I click on services and go down to MI, we can see we have a MI, one of the services that is defined in MISMO 3.5 is the rate quote response. I think that's the one we want to map to in this exercise. So let's go back, click on the first column, which is the rate quote API. Click on the company name type, and we'll click this little arrow. This is the container it's located in. There's the data type. In my mapping worksheet, I want to click the JSON path for the container for what I'm doing here. So I'm going to click on the container that it's in. Notice the path appears down here. I'm going to say copy the full XPath. I'm going to go back to my worksheet, right click on that and click paste. And there's the XPath. The next thing I want to get is the data element name itself, but I also want to include the definition. So if I click this checkbox for include definition and say copy name, so it's going to copy only the name, not the full XPath. So if I right click on this and click paste, notice now it pasted in the element name and its definition. The next thing, this one also has enumerated values. If I bring up that list and then right click and say copy, it's going to make a copy of those names. I go back to the worksheet. I need to double click within the cell, click paste, and it will show the values that I brought in. Now if we go into to paste the MISMO elements, let's look under rate quote response, and there's the location of this. Notice this XPath, this is the container it's located in, MI rate quote response detail, and here's the full XPath. In MISMO and XML XPaths, each element in the path is separated by a slash. I'm going to say copy the full path, go back to my worksheet, right click on the MISMO XPath cell, paste it in, there it is. Let's go back and get the name and definition. So I click on the name element, it's highlighted in blue here. I'm going to say include the definition, copy the name, go back to the XPath, right click on that cell column for the data element, and there it pasted in the name and definition. Just to make sure it's clear, let's do one more. Let's pick an MI lender, and notice as I type in lender, it found a match. Lender identifier is the one that I want to use. It found 2 matches in the deal element, 1 match in the open API schema. So let's select that, highlight where it's located, which is that container. It's the same container. I do not want the definition this time. Let's say copy the full XPath and right click on that cell, and there it pasted in the JSON path for that. Let's go get the data element and its definition. So here's the data element name. I want to include the definition, say copy the name, go back to my worksheet, right click, hit paste. Try that again, paste. Got to make my mouse work properly. Paste, there it worked that time. Okay, now let's go back and get the MISMO data from this second tab. Click MI lender definition. It only appears under services. We're going to use this rate quote response. Here's the container that it's in. I'm going to say copy the XPath, but I don't want the definition, so I'm going to uncheck it, say copy the path. Right click on that cell, paste, there it is. Let's go back and get the element and its definition. This time I want the definition. Say copy the name, and there it is. So those are really simple examples of how you could use to paste data from GridML to other documents, whether it's a table format like what we showed here, or a Word document like a implementation guide. Anyway, that's a real quick look at how you would use GridML with an open API schema in a typical environment. So hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you.